Sister, you've been on my mind. Sister, we're two of a kind. So, sister, I'm keeping my eyes on you. I bet you think I don't know nothing but singing the blues.
Becoming being Black occurs when one accepts and identifies with racializing Black anti-racist movements, beauty philosophies, for example, Rastafarianism, Brazilian Afro aesthetics, and Black power, and their racing stylizations and accompanying technologies as the norm. Being Black also has another side, that is, fitting into the racialized beauty order where white is right by Shirley Ann Tate, Black beauty aesthetics, stylization, and politics. In 1984, a lesser-known Whoopi Goldberg stood on stage and imitated a little Black girl who wears a shirt on her head, pretending it's her own long, luxurious blonde hair. The bit, which was part of her one-woman show on Broadway, was a commentary on how inundated we were and still are with standards of white beauty.
Good evening, loyal subjects. I am the African Queen. Some of you may know me as the Virgin Queen, but I can't imagine who. It is my solemn task this evening to welcome you to the 71st Annual Academy Awards ceremony, a ceremony devoted to rewarding the many, many people this year who played me, or wrote about me, or designed lovely frocks for me. Because, darling, it's all about me. Thank you.
But somewhere along the way, people seem to get the idea that Goldberg wanted to be something other than the Black woman she is and always has been, as stated by Essence magazine. Whoopi Goldberg is an American actor, comedian, author, and television personality who has won numerous awards, including an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony. She was born Karen Elaine Johnson in New York City on November 13, 1955. She began her career on stage in 1983 with her one-woman show, Spook Show, which transferred to Broadway under the title Whoopi Goldberg. I think that many view Whoopi Goldberg as highly successful because of her longevity, so much so that they often overlook the way she has depicted the Mammy character versus someone who is also worth saving or being desired or just frankly humanized, both from the film industry and the public and the Black community. Misogyny is the hatred of women, while misogynoir is the specific hatred of Black women. Some examples of how Goldberg has experienced these forms of discriminations I'll explain through this video essay. In 1985, her being depicted as ugly and unloved is featured highly in the movie The Color Purple. Alice Walker was a Black feminist who wrote the book The Color Purple. It was turned into a film. Whoopi Goldberg played the character Silly, who was a child bride. She was sold by her father as a less desirable daughter and separated from her sister, who was depicted as beautiful. Silly became a mockery in the Black community as her mistreatment was justified in the movie due to her being ugly or, in my opinion, just having Afrocentric features. On multiple occasions, Silly is called ugly, Black, and undesirable in the movie. Yet Silly still manages to leave her abusive husband, curse him, and reunite with her sister, even at old age. The Coalition Against Blaxploitation, also known as CAB, is said to have originated in 1972, organized by Junius Griffin, the same man who coined the term Blaxploitation. The CAB included activists from the Congress of Racial Equality, also known as CORE, Student Nonviolent Coordinated Community, also known as SNCC, and the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, also known as the NAACP. As stated by Jacqueline Bobo, the December premiere of The Color Purple was picketed in Los Angeles by an activist group named the Coalition Against Black Exploitation. The group protested against a savage and brutal depiction of Black men in the film. That complaint was carried further by Black columnist and the Washington Post, Cortland Milloy, who wrote that some black women would enjoy seeing black men shown as brutal bastards, and that furthermore the book was demeaning. Milloy stated, "I got tired a long time ago of white men publishing books by black women about how screwed up black men are." Other hostile views about the film were expressed by representatives of the NAACP, black male columnists, and a law professor, Leroy Clark of Catholic University, who called it dangerous. When Snoke Chang's choreo poem for colored girls who have considered suicide, When the Rainbow is Enough, opened up on Broadway in autumn 1976, the response from black male critics was similar. And so for those who don't know, that poem, as they refer to, is also written by a black feminist and later was produced by Tyler Perry. To many black men, The Color Purple painted them in a bad light. Some said that they acknowledged that many black men were horrible to black women, yet they did not like that the film depicted by a white man or directed by a white man was that of generalized as all black men in the film were in fact horrible.
We got a lot of shit from people. We got a lot of shit from a lot of folks at the NAACP.
Yeah.
How dare Steven Spielberg direct this movie? How dare Spike Lee? How dare he doesn't know? And how dare she write this book about black men? And who does she think she? I mean, it was like a whole thing. Nothing but black people in the movie. No, there's maybe 3 white people. But it pretty much is all black people in the movie, and people are bitching about how dare he.
So what was that like for you?
I was really pissed off. I thought, well, why didn't you make the movie? John, Spike, Luke and Jesus, why didn't y'all make the movie? He wanted to make the movie. He made the movie. So there was all of that, which then got us nominated. We got us nominated for 12 Oscars, 12 Oscar nominations. And we got not one. Because the NAACP made such a stink about this film. They told people don't go see it, boycott it, blah, blah, blah. But people couldn't boycott it because so many people had read it, they wanted to see it. Then people were mad that we didn't make the book exactly. But it's like, that's 1984. Nobody was going to let me and Suge make out. They just weren't. One kiss is all you get. We didn't really talk about the fact that she was a lesbian. We didn't talk about it because 84. We could say the word lesbian. Remember, you couldn't say it in the children's hour with Shirley MacLaine and Audrey Hepburn. You couldn't say the word lesbian. But we could say, husband. Yeah, breathe it real quick and have a quick kiss. But we couldn't, he could not have made the movie, the book then. He just couldn't have.
Well, I do understand that to a degree. I still don't understand why there wasn't some level of outrage towards how Whoopi Goldberg was treated. Instead, she was used as a running joke as the ugly black woman.
This filter shows your celebrity look-alike.
Nah, I know damn well tits I can't charm me like this. I don't look shit like... Oh, hell no.
And this kind of goes to beauty standards. Some people like to think that it's because of her eyebrows, which I think that is minimal, but it's categorized in what's considered beauty. But anyway, she explains herself and she says, "I had eyebrows as a little kid, and you know how men get those bumps? I started to get them on my face, so my mother removed them." Goldberg shared with her co-hosts Sarah Haynes, Anna Navarro, Sonny Hostin, and Alyssa Farah Griffin. She added that she just kept doing it because, I don't know, my face with eyebrows unless I'm working. They put them on and take them off, as stated by People magazine. Some argue it's because she chose to marry white men and was still accepted at some level in Hollywood as beautiful despite criticism. She was married to Alvin Martin from 1973 to 1979, David Classon from 1986 to 1988, and Lyle Trachtenberg from 1994 to 1995. In 1986, she was criticized for dating Ted Danson, a white actor who was married at the time. She was blamed for breaking up his marriage and received death threats from white supremacists. In 1988, Joan Rivers discusses beauty standards with Whoopi Goldberg.
Oh, honey.
Wouldn't you like to be thin and gorgeous? Truthfully.
I am gorgeous. You know, look, for me, it used to be the Breck girl. Remember that thing with the wavy on the back of the magazine and it never moved?
Yes.
That to me was the epitome. And then I realized that, you know, somebody had to build that.
Yes.
You know, that wasn't like when you wake up in the morning. When I wake up in the morning these days, I look in the mirror and I think, you know what? Mwah.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, yes. So you've been in therapy then?
No.
Then that's crazy. Don't go.
No, because somebody would tell me there was something wrong.
What I see in the mirror, I'm not happy with at all.
Still.
Especially now.
Why?
Because God decided, let's give her a challenge a day. And my challenge is my face.
See, I look at you and I see a really beautiful woman.
Yeah, right. And I look at you and I see a darling, wonderful, terrific, fabulous, good-looking woman. But if I were a man, and it was between you and Cindy Crawford, I'm telling you right now, I wouldn't make a stop at you. You know what I'm saying? And if I were a man between
You'd come back though. As soon as Cindy said good morning, honey, you'd be knocking on my door. Or as soon as you woke up the next morning and realized where the real deal was, baby, you'd be busting my door down. Because you know, I have knee pads.
As a hypervisible signifier of Black African descent, racial difference in the global North, Southwest, skin is still the bedrock of anti-Black woman racism, misogynoir, as stated by Toya Bailey in 2010. Misogynoir has embedded with its effects aesthetics and politics continually circulating through racial capitalism as discourses of physical and moral ugliness attached to dark skin. These discourses of dark skin as ugly lay over the surface of Black women's bodies as a second skin and condition the politics of hypervisibility which surround dark-skinned African descent women. As stated in the book The Dark Skin I Live In, Decolonizing Racial Capitalism's Aesthetic Hierarchies in the Diaspora by Shirley Ann Tate. In 2016, she was mistaken for Oprah Winfrey at the Oscars. Someone later tweeted that they made a mistake not distinguishing them two apart. To some people, they felt like it was a stereotype of all Black people look the same. Goldberg expressed her frustration with the ignorance and racism behind the accusation. We stand in our skin, we must recognize both its beauty and its ugliness brought by racial norms, stated by Shirley Ann Tate. In 2021, some fans slammed her for wearing a layered wrinkled purple dress at the Met Gala, calling it the worst look of the night. They compared her gift to a grandma's muumuu and a talking flower in Alice Wonderland. She did not respond to the criticism, but said that she loved her dress and it was custom made by Valentino. In 2023, Angela J. Bastian, a film critic for Vulture, wrote an article criticizing Goldberg supposedly wearing a fat suit in the movie Till. And so those are just some of the ways Black people in social media have criticized her for being a Black woman, at times body shamed her, etc. And so now I'm going to play some public opinion and then I'm going to say my conclusion.
Wouldn't you like to be thin and gorgeous? Truthfully.
I am gorgeous.
You know the thing that threatens people the most about Whoopi Goldberg? The fact that she don't care what you think. She gonna just show up authentically as Whoopi Goldberg, and if you don't like it, you don't like it. Because I swear there used to be a hate campaign to convince us that this woman was ugly, and let's be clear, she ain't never been ugly. Look at them eyes, piercing, cheekbones, facial structure, everything, she got it. Whoopi looks like a lot of people in your family. But you know, it's rare for a Black woman that looks like Whoopi to make it to the A-list, command big checks, and star in all the major films. That's why back then, every single interview always brought up her looks and said she was so confident despite them. It's why critics would actually be talking about her looks instead of her actual performance. That's why there were so many TV shows back then where she wasn't even on it and she was still the punchline about how ugly she was. And I hope she don't never forgive any of y'all that laughed at those jokes. But they were right though, because Whoopi is very confident, because despite the fact that the very industry you're in is always constantly lambasting your looks, you stay true and authentic to yourself. Whoopi has her own self-worth. She doesn't need it from anybody outside of her. What's most beautiful is they tried to break her, but she ain't let them.
Let's not forget about Whoopi Goldberg. Whoopi Goldberg, 1980s, when she came out, when she started with her one-woman show and her monologues and her different characters in those shows, and the Spook Show and the Whoopi Goldberg Show, that came out in 82 and 85. She came out on the scene and said, you're going to accept me as I am, as a Black woman that's dark-skinned, that has natural hair, that wears loose-fitting clothing, that has no eyebrows. That has no eyebrows. And you're going to accept me as I am. She basically said, as a Black woman, to everybody, Until you do right by me, everything you even think about will fail. And the world did right by her because she's the one of 17 performers that's an EGOT. Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony.
So the first public opinion is, to be honest, Black people weren't her biggest supporters either. To this day, when we want to call another sister ugly, we call her Whoopi. Got hate from all sides, and she still stands. Very comfortable in her blackness and refuses to conform to European beauty standards in any way. I remember when I was little, my own father said that her and Oprah were so unattractive, misogynistic, and on brand for an Afro-Latino man, but I will never forget him saying this. I know it's because of her complexion and facial features. Absolutely beautiful. I think that a lot of unconscious bias against Black women cause folks to hate Whoopi. Successful in spite of not conforming to what others want her to be. Dark-skinned, unambiguously Black woman with curly hair, you already know why. I have a lot of respect for her not chopping up her face and body to conform to certain beauty standards. I always thought she was a good-looking woman, especially when she was younger. What always stood out to me is the way she smiles. Very warm, the heart, which makes her beautiful in my opinion. To this day, I think she looks good in her own way. I don't know if anyone can find it, but when I first came on the site, I was dragged mercilessly when I said that Whoopi was not ugly. I honestly think that Whoopi went out of her way to try to make herself attractive so audiences would focus on her comedy. Pretty women weren't considered funny. Lucille Ball was one of the few exceptions. Whoopi patterned herself after women like Mabley and Phyllis Diller. By all her efforts to downplay her looks, I always found her adorable. So my conclusion is, of course, that colorism and featurism played a huge part of Whoopi Goldberg's career, and I personally think that all stems from racism. Also, it can be internalized by Black people, how we project it into the forms of colorism and featurism. When we hear comments like, oh, Whoopi is ugly, or she's so Black, or, just comments about her textured, freeform locks in general. I think that it's important to look how things have changed somewhat and how they stay the same. In my eyes, Whoopi will still be that woman who was on the screen. A lot of dark-skinned Black women weren't on the screen, and to me, she just looked like she could be my aunt or someone I know, and I never thought she was ugly, because the people I know too, to me, they weren't ugly. It's personality and just what I consider Blackness growing up as a Black woman or a little Black girl in Memphis. So I think Whoopi deserves her flowers. I'm not saying she's perfect. When it comes to like beauty and resilience, I think that Whoopi deserves her flowers, definitely. So let me know down below, what's your favorite Whoopi Goldberg film? Thank you for listening to Books and Looks TV. I'll see you next time.